when Israel was captive to Egypt. They were slaves in their land. God heard their cry and sent forth a deliverer. We know his name by the name of Moses, right? God sent forth a deliverer by the name of Moses, and he was to get the children out of Israel. You see, God used Moses not only to get them out, but also get them out of slavery and get them into freedom. Jesus is the fulfillment of what was prophesied in Moses. Just like Moses, when Jesus was a baby, he went into Egypt and then he came out. Jesus also entered into bondage caused by Satan and sin. He became sin who knew no sin. You see, Matthew is shouting the promise of God, that there is a greater Moses, the Messiah. And Messiah has come to take us out of Egypt. The Christ, the Anointed One, has come to give us a chance to be set free. You see, every one of us in this room, we have a struggle of some sort that we would really like to be set free from. I don't know what it is, maybe in this moment that struggle may be for you. Maybe it's a struggle with your attitude, or maybe there's some sort of an addiction. Maybe some of us are just tired of the way that we are currently living, and we are so desperately wanting to be set free from the bondage that we are in. And all the while, God is shouting, come on, come on. I've got something better for you. You see, Jesus, the picture of love, the picture of joy, the picture of peace, the picture of hope. He came out of Egypt. Picture of bondage, so that we may come out of bondage also and choose him. But oftentimes, we as Americans, we hear this word freedom, right? And sometimes it brings us back to our teenage years, myself included, where we want to do what we want to do when we want to do it, right? At times we do want to do that. We hear this word that we can be set free, and we think to ourselves, boy, I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And often it brings us back to when we were just a young teenager. I can remember having talks with my mom where she would say, hey, Andy, I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think you should go. What was the old famous line? When I move out, right? I mean, come on. We've all been there. We've heard it said to us. Well, when I move out, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and this, right? I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And then one day you'll find yourself driving down the road and you're thinking, boy, I sure wish I sure should call my mom and tell her that I'm sorry. Because really what she was doing was protecting me. We get this word in our mind where we think that we can do what we want to do anytime that we can do it. You see, freedom to do what we want to do when we want to do it, that is the common thought of our society. And don't believe me? We as a nation have redefined this word truth. We have redefined the word truth even in our nation today. If you were to ask somebody, what is truth? They may say, what is truth for me may be different for you. How does that make any sense? But this is where we are as a culture. This is where we are as a nation, where you could say, hey, listen, that may be okay for you. That may be truth for you, but that's not truth for me. In other words, what are they saying? I can do what I want to do because that is what is truth for me. This is where we are even as a nation. You see, some 50 years ago, the Rolling Stones wrote a song, I'm Free. Y'all know this song, don't you? I mean, it goes a little bit like this. I'm free to do what I want any old time. Now, I have no idea what this so love me, hold me is. I have no idea. I could not correlate it with the song. But anyways, it's in there. So awkwardly, you have to hear me say it, all right? So love me, hold me. I'm free any old time to get what I want. I'm free to sing my song, though it gets out of time. So love me, hold me, love me, hold me. I'm free any old time to get what I want. Last one, I promise. I'm free to choose what I please any old time. So hold me, love me, love me. Mixing it up a little bit there. Hold me. I'm free any old time to get what I want. Yes, I am. Here's a question. Why has it lasted? Some 50 years ago. You know, the Rolling Stones are still playing? Still playing. The song has lasted because the Western world wants it to be. You see, it's a hymn of humanism. The Bible has a word for I do what I want when I want to do it. Sin. Sin. Proverbs 14:12 says this, there is a way which seems right to a person, but its end is the way of death. It is sin that separates me from God. It is sin that keeps me in bondage of my past. It is sin in which keeps me from my next steps with Jesus. It is sin that is holding me right where I currently am, where I am unable to move, unable to be productive. Galatians 5:13 says, you, my brothers and sisters, were called to be set free. But do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh, but rather serve one another humbly in love. Could you be mine? Would you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? That's what we are called to do. 1 Peter 2:16 says, live as free people, but do not use your freedom as a cover-up for evil. Live as God's servants. You see, true freedom isn't doing what I want when I want. In fact, Jesus came. Love came. Christmas occurred to keep you and I from being in that thought mindset. You see, true freedom coming out of Egypt is love, is power to live as God designed our lives to be lived and to have the abundant life that He promises. True freedom becomes more and more real as we journey out of Egypt and with Jesus. It's a journey. It took God one day to get the children out of Israel, or the children of Israel out of Egypt, excuse me. But it took 40 years for God to get Egypt out of Israel. Time and time again, when difficulties arose, the children of Israel would say, take us back to Egypt, wouldn't they? When tough times arose, even with the disciples, when Jesus was gone, Peter said this, he said, I go a-fishing. It's the same thing as this. Take us back to Egypt. You see, when there are trying times in our lives, we begin to revert back to that which has a hold on us, that which has a bondage on us, that which we feel like we are enslaved to. I do what I want when I want. We revert back to this thing called sin. You see, some of us, God has called us to do a great thing and a great work in our life, but yet we find ourselves going like this. I go fishing. That's too difficult for me, God. I have other things that I should be doing right now. I live in America. I can do what I want when I want to do it.